The Cars franchise is an interesting one. It's my least favorite out of all of Pixar's, I guess, properties, but it's their most profitable. It's not just the movies, but it's also the toys and merchandise. It's one of the most profitable toy brands out there. We're talking like billions of dollars, so there's no wonder that Disney wanted to have Pixar make a third one, and they've also made spin-offs like Planes and Planes 2, which I've only seen the first Planes and it wasn't that great. I doubt the second one's that great. But I was actually pleasantly surprised with Cars 3. It's not as bad as I thought it would be. I did a review of the first Cars last year, and maybe I was a little bit hard on it, but that's just because it's the first in the franchise, and that's sort of setting the standard for it, and I had like so many questions about the world. And I've also seen Cars 2, though I haven't talked about it in a video yet. It's by far the worst Pixar movie. But Cars 3, I think, is probably the best out of the franchise. It focuses on Lightning McQueen in his late racing career. And there are these newer model cars coming into the racing scene and just, like, outperforming everybody. But Lightning doesn't want to give up his racing career just yet, so he goes to train so he can beat out this newcomer Jackson Storm. And that's the basic premise of the movie. He has this trainer called Cruz Ramirez that helps him throughout the movie, and she has a subplot that comes into play a bit later. I kinda guessed what would happen with her by looking at the trailers, and I'm sure if you've seen other movies similar to, I guess, like a Rocky-type story, you can sort of see what's going to happen. So I wasn't really that impressed with the story overall in the movie, but the execution was done well enough. Well enough to where I would ignore some other things that I have questions about in the Cars universe. Like the fact that they mentioned the Sistine Chapel in this movie, and that means that there's actually a Sistine Chapel in this universe. I mean, there was a Pope car in Cars 2, which means there was a Jesus car? That's just so weird to think about. But like I said, the execution was good enough to where I was actually invested in the characters. And this Cars film is actually more about racing than the last two. The first movie was more about lightning in the town of Radiator Springs. The second one was this weird spy movie with some racing in the background. But this one actually feels like it's all about racing, and if you are a NASCAR fan, you will definitely love this movie. I saw this with my friend Hero, and the audience we saw it with definitely had some NASCAR fans in there because they got hyped towards the end. So Cars 3 for me, I think, is alright. It's definitely not in my top 5 Pixar or even like top 10, but it's serviceable. However, if you are a racing fan, I think you will really like this. And the short that played before this movie, called Lou, which was about this sentient lost and found amalgamation of items, was really weird, but that's a very interesting short to put before this. Oh, and by the way, the backgrounds, as always, look really beautiful in this movie compared to the other Cars movies, though Cars 2 is kind of lackluster compared to the first one. But Cars 3 has some beautiful backgrounds, and especially some of the beach scenes look really, really good. So if you have seen Cars 3, tell me down in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Well, by now we're getting a bit used to winter. We're like soldiers in the middle of a campaign, growing hardened to discomfort and better able to